What up, everybody? I am Marissa the Thinker, and you are now tuned in to another episode of Thinker versus Speaker. And before you say it, I know, I didn't sing. Here's the thing, I'm tired of singing. Not that I'm tired of singing in my regular life. I love to be, I love doing a little bit of ghetto karaoke here, now every now and again. But I'm tired of singing on here. And if you can tell, we done been through some changes. Stuff's been switching up a little bit, and I think it's time to go. So if y'all okay with that, we gonna end that chapter of Thinker versus Speaker, and we gonna start something new. But on that note, I want to introduce our special guest that we got in the building today, the infamous one and only, my very special friend, better known as Briana. And tell you a little bit about her. Not only is she just my friend, she is also an environmental scientist. You know what I'm saying? She's a black hippie. You know what I'm saying? So many more things. Low-key activist. Super awesome. Super amazing. STEM, black woman, crushing shit out here. You know what I mean? Just all of the things. But let me let you tell it. Friend, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Do you want to tell the people a little bit about yourself before we get started? A little bit about who you are, what's your background, where you come from, things like that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so as Marissa said it, my name is Briana. I am from a suburb north of Dallas and went to Texas A&M for my Bachelor of Science in Bioenvironmental Science and got started from honestly, it started senior year of high school. I really didn't know, like, I needed another science and I didn't know what to take. I kind of had some history in taking different AP classes, and I just thought I would wing it and go with environmental science only because I knew that I was into recycling, and the rest is history.
Oh wow. Okay. So it was almost like it was an accident, but you kind of fell into it and fell in love.
Yeah, like it was really off of a whim. And I remember we had to write like a letter to ourselves like 5 years later in the future because we were graduating and everything. And I just recently like read over that letter, and it said like, maybe I have a colleague in environmental science, I don't know, I find it interesting. Like that was a quote from my letter, so it's just funny how it turns out.
Yeah. And like what about it when you went like really stuck out to you? Like what made you really fall in love? Was it anything specific, or is just like that type of science in general?
Honestly, it was like I can pinpoint it to like a certain lesson, and we were learning about like this concept called tragedy of the commons. And basically that just means like if you have a shared resource, that humans ultimately will act in like their own selfish manner so that they can get the best reward out of it. So like if you think of like a pond with fish, because like we had like literally like paper plates with like goldfish, and everyone was supposed to take out as much fish as they wanted to. And like my first, like the way I looked at it was like, oh well, there's four of us, so we should each like have like X amount, so we have an equal number of fish. And everyone else just started taking as much fish as they could. And like I have this thing in myself that just feels like things should be fair in life. And so like at first I got mad and I was like, no, like why is everyone doing this? Like we should be like, working together. But that's just how it goes. And so it just made me feel like, this is something that I could pursue.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. I very much feel that way. Sometimes, like, I feel like everything should be fair, and I like to, kind of like, I don't know, like, I feel a way, like, when things aren't fair. Like, I like everybody to like be equal and have equal. You know what I mean? Like, make sure everybody is cool and taken care of. And like, when that's not happening, I definitely feel a type of way about it. So yeah, I definitely feel where you're coming from on that. So like in the past, like were you like I don't know what you call it. Like, do were you like ever like really into like plants or like animals or things like that, like growing up, or did it really just click in there?
Oh my gosh, like I feel like I was a totally different person growing up because I hated outside. I hated bugs. I hated the heat, and I was so vocal about it too. That was the worst part. Like when I came back from college at one point and like I told my dad that I went camping, he was like, "You, Briana, went camping? Like who does that?" Okay.
Yeah.
And it definitely was a transition, and it part of it was just like part of it was like health reasons, but also part of it too was just having a better appreciation for it too.
Oh, that's real. That's okay. I see where you're coming from. That's weird when you say like that you didn't like outside, but that's because I know you and I know you play soccer. So it makes me go like, how do you hate outside when you literally like play an outdoor sport for
I don't
so
even
many
know.
years?
I don't even know. I'd be on the field running from bugs, like running from flies and running from bees. Like I don't even know how that happened, but it did.
Yeah, yeah, that's so real. I remember the thing that used to scare me the most when I was in marching band is like we had particular rules. Like when you're marching, like when you have your uniform on and you literally are performing, it's a certain like way that you're supposed to hold yourself and a certain amount of composure that you're supposed to keep, right? And
Hmm.
like if we have to stand in place, we have to stand in place. You know what I mean? Ain't no moving, no flinching, no nothing. If somebody come up in your face, you still supposed to stay still. If a
Ooh.
bee, if a bee lands on you, you still supposed to be still. It doesn't matter. Like you're not supposed to like break ranks at all. And that would be like one of the things that would like bother me so much because it's just like, oh my god, like you would hear like bugs like flying by your ears, like you know what I'm saying, like a fly might land on your nose or some shit. It's literally nothing you can do about it. It's just like I'm literally just standing here with my head down and my arms behind my back. Like y'all can't be serious right now.
Oh my gosh.
Like you cannot be serious. But the things that we do for the things that we like enjoy back then, right?
Right? Yeah.
Right. So now, what was college like in that field? I know that you did some things like worked with like some organizations in it. Do you think that once you got to college you kind of fell in love with it a little more, or did you get like more in depth in it? Which way did you end up going?
Oh yeah, I definitely like was fully immersed in the whole environmental field and everything. I was in, especially because being at A&M and it was so conservative. I joined like the hippie group. We were called One Love, and
Yeah.
like we were the folks that like wore tie dye and stuff. And but I would say like the most influential experience was being a part of. It was called Alternative Spring Break, and I think I paid like maybe like $250. It was super cheap to be on a week trip, and we went to Memphis, Tennessee, and we cleaned up a tributary into the Mississippi River,
Mm.
and it just it we were out there 8 hours a day for 5 days, and just we had bags of trash or empty trash bags, and we were filling it up with trash. And I remember the first time, and we were given gloves and stuff. And I
Mm.
remember the first time we went out there, I was thinking like, why is there so many people? Why do we all have like, why are they giving us 5 trash bags a person? Like, really, is
It's
there
the
this much
Mississippi.
trash? I know,
I
right? I
grew up
just,
by it. Yeah.
man, was not prepared. And there was like, the feelings that overcame me, like at first I remember being like surprised when I was like out there, because like first of all, we weren't even like smelling the fresh air. We were smelling like just alcohol and like stenches. And like when you were walking,
Mm-hmm.
you weren't walking on ground, you were walking on like styrofoam and like empty 40 bottles.
Oh
And
damn.
and then like there was like dead animals everywhere, and like there's like dead amphibians and mammals and like birds and stuff, all kinds of animals that were just like dead.
From
And
natural causes or like?
I'm not sure, or if it was just pollution or what, but it was just
Mm.
all the emotions, they just like overcame me because I was angry, and then I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna work as quick as I can. I remember being sad. It was just all kinds of things, and I just knew, like, you know what, this trip, like, even as one person, as one group, we did so much. We picked up at least a ton of trash, and I mean like 2,000 pounds of trash because they weighed it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Oh wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Like what kind of like lessons do you like I don't really want to say lessons, but like when you walk away from something like that, an experience like that, does it like change you in a way? And like like if so, like in what ways? Like did you like change? Did your habits and things like that change after an experience like that?
Um, I would say they changed and also like intensified. One of the nights we went out, and I'll be honest, like I had a few drinks in me and all that,
It was
and
college.
yeah, and I just ended up like striking up a conversation with a local, and like we were sitting outside, and he had like his paper straw wrapper, and he like flicked it away, and like as soon as that
Oh, I know
happened, I was
that
like,
grinds your gears. I know it does
okay,
still to this day.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Do
you
not throw
don't
trash
know.
away around friend. Do
No,
not. Do not
no,
litter.
no, not at all. And I was like, you don't know the week I've had. And I was just like grilling him. And I was like, I was picking up your shit in your city. Like, I was not nice.
Oh damn. I don't even know how you react to no shit like that.
Yeah, he kind of backed off. And I'm sure I didn't see him again after that. I
Yeah,
ran him off.
yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. I'm sure. So like, cause I know you personally, and I know that you're big into like recycling and stuff like that. And were you always that way, or was that something that came with like doing that?
It honestly started growing up in our home because in the garage we had a soda can crusher, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. First of
My
all,
grandpa had one of those.
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
they're fun. Yeah,
aren't
he used to
they?
collect colored cans and like take them to the yeah. He really used to do that. But my grandpa worked for an aluminum company like growing up. That's where he retired.
Oh,
Dude. Yeah, yeah. So
that's interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, so there was one mounted on the wall, and first of all, I wasn't even, tall enough to reach it. So I would
Yeah.
watch my dad do it, and then when I was tall enough, I would the cans, and I like to see how many we would fit in the bag, and that's kind of like what got me like into recycling.
Yeah.
And we would walk it down to the dumpster, or the yeah, our dumpster, and we would roll it down to the end of the driveway or whatever. And yeah, I was that girl in college that made sure people was still recycling, even though we're all partying.
Yeah, yeah. Like I literally, okay, this is embarrassing, but like also a little telling of myself. Cause like when I go over your house, sometimes I'm just like, so which trash can does this go in? Like, and I'll have to ask sometimes. I'll be like, so which trash does this go in? I think
Right.
I can recycle this one. I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and it was something that like I still pursued too. And like when I was in college, I worked for the city, and I was in the solid waste division, and
Mm,
I drove not like the big old like truck with the automated arm or whatever, but I
uh-huh.
drove like a city truck that had a Tommy gate, and I had a recycling route just for the municipal city, or
Like
yeah, the city
you
biddings.
drove?
Yeah, I drove, and I had a Tommy gate, so like it was like a gate that lowered and went up and down, and I would move.
A big, like, hold on,
No,
what?
no, not a big one, just like a
Oh,
typical pickup truck.
oh, okay. I was like,
Yeah.
hold on, friend. Like you're not finna just skip past this. Like
Oh
you
hell
just not.
no.
You know, like I don't see you driving no big body bus up in here.
Oh
Like, you know
no,
what I'm
not at all.
saying?
It was like a pickup, and so
Okay.
I could fit four or six 90-gallon bins. Like if you think of your normal like residential bin, that you roll to the end of your driveway.
Yeah.
Like I was responsible for those bins that were at municipal buildings, so like the library, city hall, and the fire stations and stuff like that. So I drove around and I just handled those recycling bins.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I didn't know that about you. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what, like, do you want to talk about like what you do now, just a little bit about it, and like
Yeah, sure.
the effect that that you think it has?
Yeah, so right now, I'm an environmental scientist slash, it's also called project assessor, or like for other people, like for layman's terms, I say environmental inspectors to give people an idea of what I do, and
Yeah, yeah.
many different terms.
Inspector, that's the word right there.
Yeah, once I say inspector, they're like, oh, okay, okay. And I write what are called phase one environmental site assessments. And so we basically, I can be given any kind of property that can range from vacant land to an apartment complex to an industrial facility like Sparklets, the folks that do like the 5-gallon water dispensers, like an industrial facility that manufactures that, to any a commercial facility like a Burger King. So any kind of facility, an old folks home. And basically I'm supposed to see any environmental issues or concerns that relate to that property, or that could be from an offsite property that's affecting that subject property. And
Mm,
so in order to do that, not the first thing, but like the main part of it would be doing the environmental inspection. So we go to the property and we walk the boundaries and get an overall idea of like what takes place there. So if you think of like a Burger King, for example, they prepare food, so they would use cooking oil. And so I want to know, like, your waste cooking oil, what do you do with it? Do you put it in what's called a grease trap, and that's like something that's subsurface, is below the ground, or do you have like tanks? And so like those are certain specific environmental items that we're interested in looking at. Or like if you're a hotel, for example, I went to a hotel today in Arlington,
mm,
and they have elevators. So I'm interested to know the equipment for that elevator. Like, do you use oil or is it traction? And it's like just like a big traction conveyor belt that's at the top of the building that suspends the elevator shaft. And so those items make a difference. And so we do that's one component of the report. The other part is looking at historical information to see, basically we want to know from undeveloped use to now, what is the history of that property. So like, let's say for that Burger King, for example, let's say that it was agricultural land in like the 20s, and then it was vacant land in
mm.
the 70s, and now in 1990 the Burger King was constructed. So just knowing the general history of it. And then we look at regulatory listings to see like if there's any violations on file, and what are the building permits looking like. And so then we write our report and we make recommendations.
Oh, okay. So you kind of make sure everybody is like, not everybody, but you make sure people are like following proper protocols that would be safe for the environment.
Yes, and like the big thing that, or the biggest question I get asked is like, are you like with the state? Are you with the city? No, like this is a third party thing. We're not here to issue violations. We just want to know, like, are there any on file, and like, does that matter at the end of the day?
Man, I was really starting to think that you were like the environmental police. Like, it sounds kind of cool. Like, it sounds kind of cool. Like, do people ever get scared when you show up? Like, oh shit, like, let's clean this shit
Honestly,
up. Hold
yes.
on.
Honestly, yes. It's so funny. And like, especially like when I go into apartment complexes and like we walk, because we have to look at 10% of the units. So an apartment complex that has like 150 units, I need to go into 15 of them. And sometimes like they can't control what their tenants are doing, and they'll be like fresh hitting a bong or something, and they're like apologizing, and I'm like, I don't care, it's okay.
Be like, I am a person behind the scenes. Like, don't even worry about me. Like, don't let these fancy names fool you. Like, I ain't on all that. Ain't nobody finna call the popo. For real. And I'm not finna kick you out your building either. I ain't even here for that. I ain't here for all that. Okay, cool. So, like, has there ever been like anything that's like super interesting that you've seen? Like, what's the most awkward thing that you've seen, like, in that?
The most awkward thing. Well, honestly, it was this Sparklets facility where, like I said, like you think of like the water cooler that y'all be like going to in your office or whatever. It was a facility that was like that owned those, and it was a Sparklets, and we weren't supposed to, we weren't supposed to be taking photos, but like I had a report that they gave to us and they did have photos, so like I didn't know that he didn't want me taking photos, and so here I am just like la da da, and he was like, oh, you're not supposed to be taking photos, and I was like, oh shit, like my fault. And from then on, like he was just like looking at me the whole time and making sure that, you know, I wasn't doing anything I wasn't supposed to be doing.
Like, what are you, a water spot?
A water spot with the Fire Nation.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing here? You're here to steal trade secrets. I don't know what to do with this shit. Fuck out of here.
Exactly.
Who am I go tell Ozarka? Fuck out my place.
Ozarka.
Okay. Do you have like any ones? Okay, if that's the most awkward thing, any ones that like stick out to you? Like, I guess just in your career in general, like, has there ever been anything that you worked on that's just like stood out to you or like stuck with you in doing it?
Oh man. Well, there was one that was just really interesting. That was an abandoned hotel in downtown Dallas, like off of Mockingbird. It was fucking scary, yes, because like it was these guys. You think of like the stereotypical like poster child that, or not poster child, but what am I trying to say? The kid that has a trust fund kid. And like he was like, let's just go get some land or some shit, or let's just buy a property and spruce it up. Like they were definitely like a group of like knuckleheads that just like got this fucking property, and it was like covered. Like I honestly should have had PPE with the amount of mold that was in there.
Yeah.
And I had to go down into the basement where the kitchen was, and like I refused to go down there. And like first of all, there was no electricity, there was no power, and so it was damp and cold and wet, and I couldn't see a thing. Having to take photos on my phone, and I had two phones thankfully, so I had one that had the flashlight on and the other one taking photos, but like there was just so much mold that like I could already feel it like just hanging in the air. And he was just like, yeah, my dad, you know, passed this on to me, and you know, I'm just gonna, you know, put some money into it and, you know, make a nightclub or something. And I'm just like, you don't even know what you got yourself into.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't mold like extremely dangerous?
Black mold, yeah, especially. I mean, it's just, they're spores, and you breathe that in, and like it gets into your lungs, and like your lungs obviously like have moisture, your body has moisture, and it just spreads from there. Like it's just not good shit to be around.
Okay, yeah. Because don't they take that like really seriously, actually? Like that's a really serious, like, I don't know if it's like an environmental thing or like a health thing. I don't really know where to put that.
Yeah, technically it's a health thing. We discuss it in reports, but it's technically considered outside of the scope. So all we can do is say like, y'all need to do something about this shit, and then hopefully someone does. But honestly, in reality, it really doesn't happen unless like if I was a health inspector, oh yeah, that building would probably be condemned. At least the basement would have been.
Okay. Yeah. That's wild. That's wild when you think about it. I think, and like depending on like what kind of areas you're in. Like some of that stuff like that kind of gets like downplayed sometimes. Like I want people to think that's some shit that you can just like paint over. Like nah, like that's some serious
Right.
shit. Like that's
Yeah.
some serious shit. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And
Yeah.
then the other one that like stands out to me is like, honestly, like when I have to do Section 8 housing, or like just the underdeveloped areas,
Mm.
just because of how like run down they are and just the kind of conditions that they live in. It really just stands out.
Okay, in what type of way?
Well, I went to one that the property uses was interesting. It used to be a hotel, then it moved to an old folks home, and then it was Section 8 housing. So they had like still had people who were old folks in the old folks home still living in the Section 8. So
Huh?
like I would be, yeah, I know it doesn't really make sense. I would be walking with this person, or the site contact, and there was like stained carpet everywhere and like a really bad smell, and I would walk in and she'd be like, "Oh yeah, someone just passed away like 2 days ago in this room." I was like,
Oh.
okay. And she was like, "Oh yeah, they were part of the old folks home." And I was like, that's
uh,
not any more comforting, but all right.
No, like I don't even like old folks homes. I'm not even trying to be funny. I don't like the way that they smell. They make me uncomfortable. But I've had a traumatizing experience as a child, y'all. Nursing homes just make me uncomfortable. Like they just do. I don't
Oh
like the smell
really?
of them. I don't like the hell yeah. I don't like the environment. I don't like anything. Okay, basically what happened was when we were children, they took us to this nursing home, and I was in preschool, y'all. Preschool. Why are you taking preschoolers to a nursing home? But it's a field trip, I guess. Like little kids help cheer up the old people. I don't know. I don't know what their deal was, but they took us to a nursing home, and this particular old man, he was nice. He was a nice old man, but when he would talk, things would fly out his mouth onto the table. And, and that stuck with me. Like little white pieces of just, I don't know what the fuck that was, would just fly out his mouth and land on the table. And the entire time I was terrified that some of that was going to fly out and hit me. And I've never wanted to be anywhere near, around, close to a nursing home. Even when my grandpas were in nursing homes, I would be like, I'm only here for you. Get me in, get me out, because I don't want to be here.
Oh my gosh.
I do not want to be here. But okay, back to the Section 8 housing. Okay. So like interesting things will be happening. So like what other kinds of stuff do you see in them?
Um, they had not like the kind of AC units they had was like similar to the hotel, where like it's a PTAC unit, like where it's that unit that's like attached to the window, you know what I'm saying, like at the
Mm-hmm.
bottom. And like all of like the grating, or not the grating, the metal gates, they were open. And so like it was basically, what I'm trying to say, it was open to outside in
Oh.
within, yeah, and there were plants growing into the room.
Oh.
And I was like, are you guys gonna try to close that up, because like if it rained it would get into the room? And they're just like, no, like what are you thinking, like we don't have the money for that, like we're just, no one's occupying this room, so if it rains it rains. It's just
Are you
like, okay.
serious?
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Like I would never imagine no shit like that. And they treat
Yeah.
it like it's just the norm.
Oh yeah. And so like if you ask like, what are your plans to, improve, they look at you like, who are you asking?
Well, I guess so. For the person that's like doing that particular walk for you, walk with you, that's beyond their pay grade. But
Yeah.
like, that's crazy when you think about it, because it's just like, I mean, it's literally nothing they can do. There's nothing that they can really do about it per se. You know what I'm saying? And the people that, what I'm saying, should care are probably nowhere near it
Right.
to like even like know or like really give a fuck. But like,
Like
who is that?
that same property, this was maybe last year. but it had been at least a year that had passed since that really bad winter storm that hit Texas, and
Mm-hmm.
they still had damage from it. And like as in like elevators were not working. There was no like ceiling tiles were not there, and it was like exposed wiring and shit like that. And they were like, yeah, this is still from that storm, and we don't have like a future date of when this will get fixed. So they just, whenever they get hit with bad weather, they kind of just have to take the brunt of it.
Wow. And people just have to live in there, and it's like nothing they can do.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And is that like something rare that you see, or is that kind of normal?
It was normal for that type of housing, that Section 8 kind of housing, but that was, in the grand scheme of things, that was pretty rare because I don't do a whole lot of them.
Okay. Okay. I see what you're saying. Huh. Makes you wonder, because it's just like, I know in other places it's not like that. So it makes you wonder, like, why is it okay in some places? But you kind of know why. But like, how is this okay? I'm a little blown by what you said right now.
Yeah, it's wild. And because I mean, there's something called like environmental racism.
Uh,
It's a real thing.
and what is it?
It's basically, like based on the color of your skin, like people tend to live in certain areas, and if you're black or brown, you tend to live in the not nicer areas. And if you think about it, at the end of the day, there's unsavory environmental, like in what we call environmentally sensitive operations, like
Mm-hmm.
your gas stations, your dry cleaners, your industrial facilities. Well, those industrial facilities, like a smelting or battery manufacturing facility, they have to go somewhere. So because you have to have batteries, and you have to have your bricks, and you have to have like your construction materials. So where do you put them? You put them where the black and brown people live, obviously. I mean, not saying like that literally, but
Right.
that's the reality of it. And
Yeah.
so
Because we live
because
in these inner cities where all of the industry technically is or
yeah.
was.
Yep. So, and then they have their emissions, and, you're breathing that in, or they have their pollutants and you're drinking it in. And sometimes, then at the end of the day, there are unsavory practices. Sometimes
Yeah.
people, they skip the lines, and they don't do everything they're supposed to be doing. And so that's how you get certain, it's skewed at the end of the day.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I never really thought about that before. Like, I guess it's kind of like two sides of the coin. Like, I guess historically, the reason why a lot of black and brown people in those areas, right, it was because that's where the industry was at one point in time, right? You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? It was close by. I remember
Yeah.
my grandpa, both of my grandpas actually, they lived in like the inner city of St. Louis, and my grandpa worked pretty kind of like down the street, or not down the street, but he worked probably like 5 to 10 minutes away from where he lived. And like I said, he worked for Reynolds, the aluminum company.
Okay.
And that in itself is a factory, right? And not even far from that place, we used to say it all the time, like growing up, like there was this place called not the bread company, Wonder Bread. Do y'all have Wonder Bread here?
Yeah, I've seen that before.
Okay,
That
so we
brand.
we had a Wonder Bread factory um in St. Louis too for the longest. And like when you would drive down that particular part of the city, like everybody would remember, like you could smell the bread, right? It's a bread
Really?
factory. Yeah, it smelled good. Yeah. But like even when you think about something like that, like it's a clear sign of like, yes, like these are, like you smell, you know,
Yeah.
production happening. Like there are things in your air. You know what I'm saying? Just to think about it,
Yeah.
like there are things in the air that you breathe, because we live by all of these like factories and industries and things like that. And though it's like convenient, it's not necessarily the safest. And not to be funny, like when you think about like more white people, where do they live? In like suburban areas that are
Mm-hmm.
away from all of these things. You know what I mean? And it's just
Right.
like even like where I live now, like it's not like around a bunch of stuff. Even where I live back home, it's not around a lot of things. You know, so you don't have to worry about breathing in. Like you have fresh air, you have, you know
Yep.
what I'm saying, nature and things like that. So you're not being exposed to as much. And then when we have like these underlying health issues that come in from like, you know, the things that our bodies are exposed to is kind of like a product of our literal physical environment.
Right. And just the other day, I was watching the news or whatever, and in West Dallas, there's a shingle factory. I think it's called like GAF.
Mm.
And they have been getting in trouble with the TCEQ, which is the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. It's the state regulator,
Uh-huh.
and they've been going back and forth on like what the real issue is. They're calling it an administrative issue. The TCEQ is saying that they went over their emission limits, but they've been in hot water with just the general public because they've been complaining of being able to smell just all the industrial processes going on. I don't really know all the chemicals that are involved with shingles, but they're
Mm.
over there. And
Oh, I'm
if
sure there's
you
like tar and things like that. Like,
Oh yeah, good
okay.
point. Tar, yeah, that's a good one. And if you Google the demographics of West Dallas, it's 2% white. So, you see like the folks that live there, the makeup of the community there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. I see. Oh, we had something similar back home actually, but it wasn't like with shingle. It was actually with our garbage. It was actually with the what's it called? Where they put the garbage? Like, is it a dump? Is that actually what it's called? Landfill.
Yeah,
That's it?
landfill.
Yeah. So the landfill is back home. There was a particular one. I think it's like waste management or something like that. But long story short, there's where the landfill is, like out in like I think like St. Charles, like Bridgeton-ish area, like out there, you literally can smell the garbage. Like it has gotten so bad that you smell the
Hmm.
garbage, and I think to an extent it was like leaking into the water. Maybe, don't quote me on that. Do your own research, people. But you know what I'm saying? I think like it was doing something. Like you could literally smell it from miles away. Like the whole city smelled like garbage. And I don't know if it's the same way or not, but people were complaining about it because it's like they were like, it's literally nowhere else to put the trash. Like we're trying to burn it, we're trying to do this, that, but it's literally too much trash, and we can't. There's literally nothing we can really do about it. Essentially.
You would be you would be amazed about how political like landfills can be and where to put them and like who wants to live by them. Literally nobody.
Of course, nobody wants to live by them, but we're not solving the issue of having less trash.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you even deal with something like that? And why do you think it's so political?
Well, especially living in College Station, I remember driving to like, where was it? Like Houston or Austin, and like along the side of the highway, there was like different signs. It was picket signs, and it was saying, "Vote no on Proposition whatever, whatever." Like, say no to the landfill. And like, I looked it up or whatever, and like, it was just a war about where to put this landfill, and like, I don't know why it gets so heated though.
Yeah, because I mean, nobody wants to have nobody wants to live where they put the trash. And I mean, obviously, like even back home, if they're having issues where you're getting literal, I think it was chemical waste that was getting into the wastewater. Is it
Okay.
chemical or nuclear? But
Ooh.
some wild shit like that. And it was getting into the groundwater. That's what it is. It was getting into the groundwater, and
Okay.
that's why it was posing a problem, and that's why they were trying to burn the trash, if I'm not mistaken. But nobody wants that. Nobody wants
Mm-mm.
that. Absolutely. But like, there's so much trash. There's so
Yeah.
much trash. There's so many people. Like, where do you literally want them to put it? And it makes me wonder, it's just like, our bad habits as a society really more of a part of the problem? Like, we're arguing about where to put the trash, but we're not having the conversation of how do we produce less trash.
Right. And people think that, one's individual actions like don't matter, but that's when like it really absolutely does, because you're adding to the problem. Like, you're the reason why, I mean, not you specifically, but we all are the reason why we have to have these discussions about where do the landfills go, because we're producing so much trash.
Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and who hasn't been the person that's been pissed about a paper straw? But like, do you realize why we have paper straws? Like, do you realize why people are trying to switch to paper straws? Like, have you not seen videos of them pulling straws out of turtles' noses? Like, plastic, literally, you know what I'm saying? Everywhere. Isn't there like a giant mass of trash in the ocean now too?
Yeah, and they've been saying for a while it's the size of Texas.
Seriously?
I wonder what. Yeah, the size of Texas.
Do you know where it is?
No, I couldn't tell you.
Huh. Okay. Okay, since we're like pushing that envelope anyway, like, how do you feel? God, I don't want to open a can of worms. Well, I'm about to open a can of worms. How do you feel about global warming, especially like where we are right now?
It's honestly like really depressing.
I knew it was a can of worms, but I mean, who better to talk about this?
Yeah, I mean, like, global warming is like, I feel like God's greatest way of showing that we are all like interconnected, like on a whole another level. Because, I mean, I remember in college, being in my, I think it was called a world diseases and world diseases class, and the professor would come in every day and she would put the world population clock on and just talk about and as she's talking, the world population is just increasing, and talking about like how different calamities can cause like shock waves of other problems. Like, for example, having a really bad hurricane go through Haiti could cause a cholera outbreak because their sanitary sewer systems are broken down by the destruction of the hurricane. So then they have nowhere to go to use the facilities, and then a cholera outbreak breaks out and they don't have the infrastructure to combat it. So now people are dying from a very curable and containable disease. So situations like that.
Okay. Wow. That is kind of depressing to think about. Like, even with everything going on, I think sometimes it's easier to ignore than really like say that there's a problem, right? Because you don't see it in your immediate day-to-day lives. I think we're starting to experience it a little more because you literally have to deal with it, with the weather and how the weather has been in years. Because like, let's be honest, it's not normal. Like, some of this shit is not normal, like I haven't lived in Texas. I didn't grow up in Texas, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's hot. You know what I'm saying? Like, is this shit normal? Like, is this shit normal or not? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get it. Like, you know what I'm saying? The amount of hurricanes, the amount of natural disasters that we have, earthquakes, tsunamis, like, we are having more in these recent times now than we've had in my, like, childhood.
Right. And they also point at and highlight how bad and how ill-equipped we are to handle them. Like, for example, like back to that winter storm that we had, like Texas, first of all, like we just had
there was
to be
nothing.
Different. There was nothing.
There was nothing. Had to be
different. Yes.
I grew up in Missouri. It was nothing. We didn't have fucking power because of some what? There was nothing outside. You woke up and it was melted, but we still didn't have power.
Right. Yes. I'm remembering that now. Because, I mean, I had no power for 9 days. Like, it was some bullshit.
Snow been gone. Ice been gone. Still no power. Rolling power. Okay.
Yo, I had to go to the pool with my 5-gallon bucket and use that water just to flush my toilet.
Bruh. And okay, and let's go back to why, because you were about to say it. Texas had to be special.
Yes, and we had to have our own power grid, like some bitches.
Niggas bragged on that shit when I moved here to a damn store. We're the only state that has our own power.
And look what happened.
Oh, how the Texas New Mexico project. I think y'all need to turn that project into the teacher and leave it alone. Go figure something else out. But yeah, to the people that aren't Texans, let's talk about what that is, though. You know what I'm saying? What do we mean by having our own electrical grid, and like how did that fuck us?
Right, like we have our own. Everyone, literally, the rest of the United States. I mean, when I say that, I know at least I know of the lower 48. I don't know about Alaska and Hawaii. They probably got their own shit going on. But like everybody, well, yeah,
they would have reasons. Yeah, they're not connected to us, literally.
Exactly. The rest of the country has like their own power grid. I don't know much about what they got going on, but Texas, they, we power ourselves. And I think like the governing body or whatever that handles it is called ERCOT. Not sure what it stands for, but yeah, so Texas had to be different, and when that storm came through, it just knocked it out and they could not get it up. Who was it? Not Abbott, but the other dude, Cruz. He fled.
Ted Cruz.
You remember that?
Ted Cruz. Yeah.
fled to
he was going to Cancun and had to come back. Like, oh, it's a winter storm. I'm gonna get fuck up out of here.
Oh my gosh. And blamed it on his daughters.
And his daughters. And these are the person that makes our laws. Yeah. These are the people why we can't get shit done in the world.
What a bitch.
Bruh, doesn't it tell you? Like, these politicians do not give a fuck about the people whatsoever. It's literally just about power. And that shit is depressing as shit. And that's how you can have fucking Section 8 housing with fucking grass coming through the fucking walls and nobody's fucking doing it about it. But that's because we have fucking politicians in power that'll rather fly to Cancun when your fucking whole state is in a fucking crisis without power. Alright. And it wasn't just like, was it just Dallas? Or was it more than that? I think it's more than that.
Had to been.
Because it was, I think the whole state was a little fucked up, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think this was no small scale shit. Because I don't even think that Ted Cruz lives in fucking Dallas. I think he lives in Houston. But I'm not sure. So don't quote me.
Yeah. Your guess is better than mine. I'm not sure.
I don't fucking know. But if I get political in this bitch, we're gonna be down a whole nother rabbit hole and it's gonna take a whole nother day.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, it's gonna take a whole nother day. We talking about environmental issues right now.
Yo,
but I mean, they would. Yeah.
This is why Texas is like great, but it's also not.
Yeah. Because I mean, like, there are things that I really do like about being down here. I like how it's a family-oriented state. You know what I'm saying? Take it or leave it. I do like the conservatism of it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Not like conservative in the like I mean conservative. Not in the way that y'all think. That is not the way. What I mean by it is just like the independent thought of it. You know what I'm saying? Like in the people should govern themselves kind of way. But the thing that you don't like about conservatism is like they don't let you govern yourself. So it's a double-edged sword, you know what I mean? Because the issue with conservatives is they try to take too much control on the sword of being independent. You know what I mean? So it's just like, oh, we're independent, so therefore we're not going to talk about these guns. Oh, like, you know what I'm saying? Protect the children, so fuck your rights as a fuck your rights to your body. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Whew.
but you know what I'm saying? But also, like, we're not going to help out people that need financial help because you should be able to pick yourselves up off of your bootstraps. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Conservatism, like, and what it has become. Fuck no, I don't agree with it. But like, you know what I'm saying? I only mean it in the sense of like, you know, like give people the opportunity to like think for themselves and govern for themselves. But like, nah, not in what the fuck it's become now. But yeah, in that regard, they also like do too fucking much. You know what I mean? It's
Oh
just
yeah.
like, you know, you can have all the guns that you want, and therefore, you know, you validate and shit. Like, rest in peace to those people. Like, that's a fucking tragedy. Like, we should be talking about how to fix shit like that, but you know, y'all worried about like the criminalization of marijuana and shit like that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you know. It's just like, I don't know about this. I'm going on a different type of tangent and rant. My bad.
No worries.
We're not talking about the big issues. That's my point. You know what I'm saying? The things that can actually create change in the real world. You know what I'm saying? Because we have politicians that actually don't really give a fuck. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's literally about the power. It's literally being able to like vote for bills that take more and more of your rights away while they get more and more power.
Right.
But all on the pretense of we want to keep you independent. It's just like these people that you think are saving you actually aren't saving you. They're making your life like low-key a little bit worse.
Oh
but
yeah.
but you know, who the fuck am I, right?
Who I are. Who I are.
Who I are, you know what I'm saying? Who I are. Like, but you know, but you think about things like global warming and stuff. Like, honestly, what's that movie that just came out with all of those people in it? Don't Look Up.
Oh my gosh, that movie. I cried so hard.
It's a perfect metaphor for what's going on right now, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, why did you cry?
Because he like really tried, and they just, what was the guy in what's his name,
Jonah Hill, yeah.
Jonah Hill. Oh my gosh, he was a character. He made me want to punch him.
Yeah, but I mean, that's like real life people. That's like your Ted Cruz's, Loki.
Yeah, no, that's real.
Like, for real. It's just like, nothing's happening right now. Don't worry about that thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they said it could kill us, but I mean, can it really? Can it? Can it? Can it?
Like when they were trying to explode the asteroid or whatever, and he was like, he took like some drugs or something. He was like, I wanted to kick in.
Molly, yeah.
Yeah, there was the Molly. That's it.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? But like, real shit's happening. Real shit's happening right now. Honestly, if they had the opportunity to do that, maybe they do. You know what I'm saying? Maybe at the end of the world, like they'll be like, oh, yep, we out of here. Like, fend for yourselves. But like, it's sad when you think about it too. Another thing that keeps sticking out in my mind for some reason. So I remember you telling me about this like some years ago when you went to Alaska. I think you were talking about an iceberg that was melting, and then like the rising sea levels and stuff. Do you know anything about that? Like, how do you feel about that?
I mean, just again another depressing topic. And
Sorry.
no, no, no. I mean, it's part of it. It's part of it. It's a depressing just theme, I guess. And yeah, we went to Alaska, my family, and we went to hike a glacier, and they had like a little information center before we went and hiked, and it showed a time lapse of the glacier that we were going to go see, and how it was like, you know, way bigger than before, and then decades later with global warming, how it's shrunk in size. And they showed other glaciers, like aerial views of the time lapse and how they all shrunk in size. And even when we went to go see it, it was still like, you know, magnificent, of course, but it was just like, geez, like this could have been so much bigger. And it definitely like adds to, you know, the melting glaciers, that like that's water that's adding to the oceans, and that, you know, is what leads to these more intense hurricanes. And it's just, again, like that cycle of everything being interconnected. And, you know, something happening over here in this part of the world is going to eventually make your way to your backyard at some point in some manner.
Wow. Not to I kind of want to shift the mood a little bit, because like you just said hike a glacier. Like you just said hike a glacier, and I want to know more about that experience. Like, how do you hike a glacier, and oh my God, what does it look like? Because that just sounds amazing. I've kind of fallen in love a little bit with nature since moving down here. Back home, it's like muggy, and like really what you see is what you get. It's only so many pine trees and like regular evergreens that you can look at, and like deers, and still be excited, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? If there really wasn't as much nature, and it just didn't feel that great to be outside. But down here, I've really learned how to, and maybe it's just me changing as a person. Like, maybe if I was to go back there now, like I wouldn't have a problem with it. But again, like you said earlier in the podcast, like I did not want to be outside in nature. I don't like bugs. I don't like to be hot. I don't like to sweat. But like now it's kind of funny because like I embrace that shit. Like literally I'll be like, it's hot. My pores are open. I'm sweating.
Right?
It is beautiful. The grass is so green. The leaves are so green. Ooh, what kind of bird is that? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is that a blue jay? Is that a cardinal? Like, what? Oh my God. Like, it's so much. Is that a butterfly? Oh my God. It's so beautiful. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, I've kind of started to fall in love with nature a little bit. So like, what is that experience like doing that? Because like like how's Alaska in general? Shit, tell me about that shit.
Oh my gosh, it is like one of a kind. Like, so I mean, Alaska itself was just breathtaking. Like, I mean, like waking up and there's just like it wasn't, I don't want to say haze, it was like just honestly Bob Ross, okay?
He was on point.
Personified. He is on point, and every day was something different to look at, and the trees, and we were like on a hill, and we were kind of at the top of the hill, so we like looked over. I can't remember what city we were in, I hate to say. It was not Anchorage, but we looked out over the city in our Airbnb when we woke up in the morning, and it was just beautiful. But hiking the glacier,
was it Juneau?
So it was, yes, it was Juneau. That's where we were.
Okay.
Thank you, friend.
Okay.
And so the hike, it was 8 hours of like work, and 4 hours.
That's a long ass hike.
Whew, let me tell you. And I almost didn't go. Like, I did not want to do this at all. And my dad, like,
I was gonna say that was your dad, wasn't it?
Yes, it was definitely my dad. And the crazy part is that, like, side note, like, he was about to go into hip surgery. Like, he was about to, and he still did it. Like, kudos to him. Like, I don't even know how he did it.
That's an intense hike.
Yes. And like there were times where like we were walking on like, oh, how do I put it? It was like a really steep incline of wet rock, and the only thing keeping us on, the only thing keeping us on it were patches of moss, because that held like the friction that we could like get through it. And like we were falling and stuff, and it was crazy.
That sounds intense. I don't think I would have.
It was so intense, and like it got
I would have been
scary
ready
at
to
some
turn
points.
around. I would be ready to turn around. Like, nah, I'm cool. Scary how?
Just like making sure we don't fall and stuff like that. I mean, especially on that incline. But and I have this weird thing. I have this weird thing when it comes to hikes and runs. Sometimes I don't like them because I get afraid of the fact that, like, you know, if you're 2 hours into it and something happens, like, you have to either finish it or turn back.
Exactly. That's the scary part.
That freaks me out. Yeah. That's why, like, I'm not a fan of that. I'd rather like go to a workout and, if I
My
have to
last hike was terrible. Yeah.
see, see.
Yeah, my last hike was terrible. I remember we went, right? And I forgot where we went. Lord knows, I don't want to remember. So it was beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It was the most beautiful shit ever. But like when we went, there's literally like when you go in, like you literally have to drop off this like 3 foot like parallel like incline. So it's just like, oh, this is a beautiful start. You know what I'm saying? It might not. Okay, I'm exaggerating. It was like 1 foot. But like still, you know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
significantly bigger than a step, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, this is how the fuck we starting? For real? This shit ain't okay. So then you go, and it's just like to get to where you're going, you go down to get to where you're going. Because essentially it's leading you to a waterfall. So you're going down and it's just literally like vertical cliffs. And you have to just kind of like navigate your way down these vertical cliffs. And I don't like heights. I don't like this. I like regular ass shit. I'm from St. Louis. Like if we going on a hike, like I want to go on a walk. I'm not trying to fucking be over the mountain and climb this way and jump over this and all that shit. I'm not used to this. I don't know nothing about this. I'm not from this. And this is exactly what we was doing. So apparently we was taking a hard way. So once we get down and shit, because like I said, I don't really do heights, so I was like going slow, going down and whatever. So I'm like, all right, we gonna take the long way back because it might be longer, but if it ain't all this, I'd rather do that. I'd rather take the scenic route and fucking not be doing all this extra shit right now. So we do it, you know what I'm saying? We walk through the water, we see the waterfall, you know what I'm saying? Oh, it's beautiful, whoop-de-whoop wop, all that. We take it all in and shit like that. And then we're walking back. So we take the long way back. And like we're walking through an open field. Girl, we don't know where we're going. We are absolutely lost, right? And the person that I'm with points out like, oh, you see those holes in the ground right there? I'm like, yeah. She was like, yeah, that's where rattlesnakes live. And when they're empty like that, you know what I'm saying? They're out and about. And I'm just like, you bitch you. Like, you bitch you. Like, this is something that you knew I didn't know and could have lived without fucking knowing. Damn. Like, you know what I'm saying? I could have lived without fucking knowing. So now when we are the only two people walking through this endless field of motherfucking grass here, tall ass grass, through this narrow ass path, all I hear around me is and I'm like, you bitch you. I'm pissed. I am the most upset. I'm like, I don't ever want to hike again in my fucking life. I don't want to do this shit no more. I don't know how I'm getting home. We don't know where the fuck we are. We don't know how long it's gonna take us to get up out this bitch. Yeah, I wanted to take the long way, but bitch, you ain't say it was gonna be like this. Like,
damn.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we surrounded by snakes and shit. We don't know where we are. It ain't no way about this bitch. We can't even tell no motherfucking park ranger where the fuck we at. We don't know. I'm gonna die out here. Like, I'm going to die out here. I ain't gonna make it. It was very much one of them moments where you realize, like, if something was to happen, I'm fucked. Like, I am fucked at it. Like, for real. And I mean, eventually we got out, you know what I'm saying? Like, eventually we got out. It took some time. It took us an hour to get to where we were going, and it took us about like 2.5 hours to get out. You know what I'm saying? Adrenaline rushing the whole time. Beautiful scenery. But I was terrified, and it was very much one of them situations where, like, I don't know if I'm gonna do this shit again. I really don't. I can't tell you.
I'm glad you made it out, friend.
Me too. Me fucking too. Me too. So like, how do you feel about hiking now? Like, I know, like, do you like, okay, do you have any interesting like hiking stories, or like any ones that like were so like significant to you, or like any other things that you like to do out in nature, like, um since you're into it, like what kind of things that you like to do, you like to do revolve in nature?
Yeah, I've been camping with my friends, especially from college, that we've done this before. And there was one time we were in Wyoming at the Grand Tetons, and we saw
You're a world traveler.
we saw a mama moose with her baby, and
Oh,
we were like in reality like way closer than we should have been, but like I will say they walked up on us, and so we pulled out our phones and stuff, but and then I showed the video to my aunt later on, and she was like, like how protective they are. And so it was like a
oh,
good
are they?
situation. Oh yeah, like I mean mama mammals in general. But yeah, so it was
I mean,
just
you took a
good
picture
that.
next to a fucking bear, like.
Oh yeah, I did that in Alaska too. Yep.
Yeah, I'm just like, you sent that to me. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, friend. I was like, that's not your black side. Taking a picture next to that bear. I know it's not. I know
Oh
it's
yeah.
not.
And it was my dad that my white dad that was like, you should do this. And I was like, oh, okay.
Like, yeah, that's that side. Like, that's okay. Like, you adventurous. You know what I'm saying? You only get one life to live. Fuck it. You got a picture next to a motherfucking bear. You got that much.
Yo, when my dad had me do that, like after I took the picture, my dad goes, Briana, get up, and like that scared the shit out of me.
That's an asshole.
They really are.
They'll coax you right into that shit and scare the fuck out of you. Like,
Oh my
I don't know why you did no shit like that. You told me to. Okay. All right. Well, is there any other things that you want to share with the people while we still here before we wrap this thing up? You know what I'm saying? Did I miss anything? Anything else interesting that you want to talk about?
I guess we could end it on, just saying that, your individual actions matter, and, like you may not think it does, but they all add up, whether it be something like recycling or voting and things like that. Like it always matters at the end of the day.
Yeah. Because we only get one planet. You know what I'm saying? One thing that I talked about in the episode, right? The last episode that we just did, it's like, how you treat your body is exactly what you get in return, right? So the way that you treat your body is how it's going to treat you. If you do good to your body, if you eat good things, if you exercise, if you, are mindful of the things that you consume, you get good things from your body. You get energy, you get good health, you get, you know what I'm saying, that vitality that you need to keep moving forward. And the earth is the same way. You know what I'm saying? We only get one earth the same way that we only get one body. And it's a lot of us on this planet. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of us on this planet. So, like, if we want to keep it, we got to be mindful about how we treat it. You know what I'm saying? And even just being one person, you know what I'm saying? And impact matters. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even with the things that you do, right? It makes me think twice about my own actions. So, like, the way that you're passionate about not littering makes me not want to litter in my day-to-day life, and I don't litter since meeting you. You know what I'm saying? So the small things that you do can actually make a bigger impact that you think. So you know what I'm saying? And even if you like slightly conscious about the environment and things like that, like it's not that hard to, like recycle a couple bottles here and there so they don't have to go into the landfill. You know what I'm saying? Or crack a couple cans. You know what I'm saying? You might be able to make a little money off a couple crack cans. I don't know if they still do that. In the past, you might make a couple cents off some cans. You know what I'm saying? It could be some benefits to recycling. You know what I'm saying? Or just anything else, or just like picking up trash around your neighborhood and things like that. Keeping things pretty. Because it's not just about us. Like, we got animals that live on this earth and everything like that. And we want to make sure that we take care of the earth. I
Yeah.
told you, I told you earlier this week. It's crazy how like the circle of life works. Because one of my favorite things to do is just go out in nature and just look at animals in nature. Right? I
Mm.
love animals. Like I took a video this morning. Oh my god, it was so cute. Friend, I meant to send you a video, but it wasn't clear enough. I was talking to a squirrel this morning. I don't know why I started whispering. I was talking to a squirrel this morning. He was on a tree, and I was outside Ruby, and he like went up the tree to get to like a safe distance, and like looked back down, like, "What y'all doing?" So I was like, "Hey, squirrel." I was like, "Hey, squirrel," and he looked at me. He was like, "Nigga, you talking to me?" I said, "Yeah, I'm talking to you." And then he like climbed up the tree a little bit more. He climbed up the tree a little bit more so he could get to like a safe distance. And he looked back down. He was like, "Hold on, you talking to me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm talking to you." And he put his arm and pointed at himself, and he was like, "You talking to me?" Like,
No.
yes, yes. He pointed at his chest, like, "Me? Like, you talking to me?" And he's looking at me, I'm looking at him, like, "Yeah, I'm talking to you." Ruby looking at me like, "Are you talking to the motherfucking squirrel?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm talking to the squirrel." And he like kept doing it. Like he put his arm down and look around and then look at me again and then put his arm up like, "Hold on, nah, for real, you talking to me?" Like,
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, "Yeah, I'm talking to you." But but like even the other day, like going beyond that, there is like a black cat that's been like chilling outside my apartment. I don't know why cats like to chill around my apartment, but they do, y'all. I'm not lying. If y'all think I'm lying, check my TikTok. So it's a cat. It was a cat. It was just chilling by a tree, and I'm walking Ruby, and like a squirrel just like falls. It just falls from the tree. Like I guess it like fell off one of the branches or whatever, but it falls from like a pretty good distance, and you can tell it's like stunned. I think it's okay, but it's definitely stunned because it like fell from like a really good height. And when I say that cat was on it, he was just like, "Oh, you fucked up." He's like, "Oh, you fucked up? Okay, man, let's go." So he starts chasing the squirrel. The squirrel's like, "Oh shit," but it's like thrown off because it just got hurt. So it's like running, and it like the cat catches him, and like, and, and it's like walking away with the squirrel in his mouth, and the cat like literally goes about his business, and I'm just thinking to myself like, "Fuck, like, fuck, I already know what's gonna go down." And like on one end, like I'm literally reminding myself, because y'all, I want to cry. Like I'm literally reminding myself, like it's the circle of life. We are all connected. Like, but this squirrel finna die. Like this squirrel is about to die. And I'm like, but this cat need to eat. And this ain't none
Right.
of my fucking business. But it was just like, bro, like it was like beautiful but also sad at the same time. And like going back to how everything's connected, it's like that, how that relationship with earth can be like, it's only gonna be as good, like, you know what I'm saying, it has its goods and it has its bad. It can be so rewarding, but it can also be the thing that like takes us away and destroys us at the same time. So we just gotta be, we have to value what it is that we have, because you know what I'm
Hell
saying, like
yeah.
we don't know what's gonna happen with global warming, and it is so many people out here in this world, and you know it's kind of hard to tell if anybody is or will ever do anything about it before it's too late.
Well put. Well put.
Yeah, got deep. Sorry. Sorry,
It was
not sorry.
beautiful.
Yeah. But on that note, y'all, we gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up. Thank you for coming to another episode of Thinker versus Speaker. Friend, thank you for coming through. It has been a great episode. It was a lot of interesting conversations. I learned a lot of things that I did not know. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to follow us, make sure you follow, well, if you want to follow Thinker versus Speaker, you can find us at Thinker versus Speaker on Facebook, Instagram, Thinker versus Speaker official on TikTok, and we also on YouTube. We also on YouTube. I got a second page called Confessions of a Healing Healer, also on YouTube. If you want to check that out, I get more in depth in my ramblings about, you know, my healing journey and what it's like. You know what I'm saying? I talk about the good times, I talk about the bad times, I talk about the times when I'm in my ego and all that kind of stuff. So if y'all want to check that out, it's going to be under the Marissa the Thinker YouTube page. If you want to follow me personally, I am at MarissaY17 on Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter when I feel like it, but I never feel like it, and Marissa Yarbrough on Facebook. Friend, you want to tell them where to follow you at?
Sure. It's Bree_biz, Bree Biz,
All
on
right.
Instagram and Facebook.
All right, fantastic. Thank you for coming through one more time. Is there anything else you got for the people before you get out of here?
Just a bunch of love.
Just a bunch of love. What is it? One love?
One love. Yep.
One love. Did y'all have like a chant or something? Like a secret handshake or anything?
Probably just a peace sign, you feel me?
Probably just a piece. All right, but on that note, y'all, we finna go ahead and get up out of here. Thank y'all for coming through. We gonna see y'all next week. Later, y'all.